The 7 dimensions of life in detail. I have mentioned the 7 dimensions throughout this series: spiritual, financial, mental, physical, family, social, environmental. But I have never taken a full episode to explain them in detail, to unpack what each dimension means, how they connect, why they matter, and why building apps that serve all 7 creates something extraordinary instead of something ordinary. The 7 dimensions framework is not something I invented. It is something I discovered through my own life, through my own struggles, through years of trying to improve different areas of my life and realizing that they were not separate. They were connected. When I improved my finances, my relationships improved. When I improved my health, my work improved. When I improved my spiritual life, my mental clarity improved. Everything was connected, and treating them as separate was the reason I was struggling, because you cannot optimize one area while neglecting the others. They pull each other down, or they lift each other up. Let me walk through each dimension and explain what it means in the context of building and living. The first dimension is spiritual. This is not about religion, although for me it includes my faith. The spiritual dimension is about purpose, meaning, connection to something bigger than yourself. Why do you do what you do? What is the point? What gets you out of bed in the morning? When your work is connected to a purpose that is bigger than profit, it becomes sustainable. Because purpose does not deplete, it replenishes. You can work for 12 hours and feel exhausted. But when that work is connected to purpose, you wake up the next day ready to do it again. Purpose is the fuel that does not run out. Every app I build is connected to my purpose, empowering people through technology. That purpose keeps me building when the numbers are low, when the revenue is zero, when nobody seems to care. The purpose reminds me why I started and why I must continue. The second dimension is financial. This is about money, but not in the way most people think about money. Not as a goal, not as a score, as a tool. Money is a tool that can build or destroy depending on who is holding it and whether they know how to use it. Financial literacy is not about getting rich. It is about understanding how to use the tool of money to serve the other dimensions. Money funds your purpose. Money supports your family. Money maintains your health. Money enables your generosity. When you understand money as a tool, you stop chasing it and start directing it. Every app I build has a financial dimension. Either it teaches financial literacy or it generates revenue that funds the mission. Both are valid. Both are necessary. The third dimension is mental. This is about the mind. Clarity, focus, problem solving, decision making, creativity, learning. The mind is the engine that drives everything. A sharp mind makes better decisions. Better decisions create better outcomes. Better outcomes improve every other dimension. Building apps sharpens the mind because it forces you to think in systems, to communicate with precision, to solve problems methodically, to hold complexity, to make decisions under uncertainty. The mental dimension is not separate from building. It is enhanced by building. The fourth dimension is physical. This is about the body, health, energy, vitality. The body is the vehicle that carries you through your work. If the vehicle breaks down, everything stops. Building apps requires sitting at a desk for hours. Without physical health, that becomes unsustainable. Back pain, neck pain, eye strain, fatigue, poor nutrition, poor sleep. All of these degrade your ability to build. Physical health is not a distraction from work. It is the infrastructure that makes work possible. When you take care of your body, your building improves. When you neglect your body, your building suffers. The fifth dimension is family. This is about the people closest to you, your children, your partner, your parents, your siblings, the people who know you and love you and need you. Building can consume you. It can take every hour, every thought, every ounce of energy. And family can become an afterthought. But family is the reason you build. Or it should be. If your building destroys your family, your building has failed. No matter how successful the app is, family grounds you, reminds you what matters, keeps you human. And when you build with family in mind, your apps serve families better because you understand what families need. The sixth dimension is social. This is about community, friends, colleagues, neighbors, your network, the people you interact with beyond your family. Humans are social creatures. We need connection. We need belonging. We need to be part of something. Building can be isolating. You sit alone at a desk talking to an AI. Without social connection, that isolation becomes loneliness. And loneliness kills creativity, kills motivation, kills joy. The social dimension is about building community around your work, not just users. Community, people who care, people who support, people who challenge, people who celebrate. When your app creates community, it does not just have users, it has members, and members stay. The seventh dimension is environmental. This is about your surroundings, your physical environment, your digital environment, and the natural world. The spaces you build in affect the quality of what you build. A cluttered desk produces a cluttered mind. A noisy environment produces fragmented thinking. A dark room produces low energy. Your environment shapes your work, and your work shapes the environment. The apps you build consume energy, serve data, store files. Each has an environmental footprint. Being mindful of that footprint is part of building responsibly. And building apps that help others be environmentally mindful is part of serving the environmental dimension. Now, let me talk about how the dimensions connect. Because the power is not in the individual dimensions. The power is in their connections. When you improve one dimension, it lifts the others. When you neglect one dimension, it drags the others down. The dimensions are not separate rooms in a house. They are rooms connected by doors. What happens in one room affects every other room. Let me give you an example. When I improved my physical health by exercising every morning, my mental clarity improved. I could think better, solve problems faster, make better decisions. My better decisions improved my financial dimension because I made smarter choices about money. My improved finances reduced my stress. Reduced stress improved my family dimension because I was more patient with my children. More patience improved my social dimension because I was kinder to my community. Kinder interactions improved my spiritual dimension because I felt more connected to my purpose. One change in one dimension rippled through all seven. That is the power of the framework. You do not need to fix everything at once. You need to fix one thing, and the connections handle the rest. Now let me talk about how this framework applies to building apps, because this is where it gets exciting. When you build an app, you are not just building software. You are building a tool that interacts with every dimension of your users' lives. And the best apps are the ones that serve multiple dimensions simultaneously. Smart Investor Leader serves the financial dimension directly, but it also serves the mental dimension by teaching people to think clearly about money. It serves the family dimension by helping parents provide for their children. It serves the social dimension by creating a community of learners. It serves the spiritual dimension by connecting money to purpose. One app, 5 dimensions. That is why it works, because it does not just solve one problem. It serves the whole person. 7D Dad serves the family dimension directly, but it also serves the mental dimension by giving fathers tools to reflect. It serves the social dimension by creating a community of dads. It serves the spiritual dimension by connecting fatherhood to purpose. It serves the physical dimension by encouraging active parenting. One app, 5 dimensions. Paysaver serves the financial dimension, but it also serves the social dimension through community, the mental dimension through education, the environmental dimension through sustainable investing, the spiritual dimension by connecting wealth to purpose. When you build with the 7 dimensions in mind, you build apps that are richer than apps built for a single purpose. Because human beings are richer than single purposes, we are multidimensional. And apps that recognize that complexity and serve it are the apps that people love, because they feel seen, not as users, as whole people. I want to share how I use the framework when I design a new app. Before I build, I go through each dimension and ask a question. How does this app serve the spiritual dimension, the financial, the mental, the physical, the family, the social, the environmental? If the app serves at least 3 dimensions, it is worth building. If it serves 1 or 2, I reconsider. Because an app that serves only 1 dimension is a tool. An app that serves 3 or more is a companion. And companions are valued more than tools. This framework is also why I built an ecosystem instead of a single app. No single app can serve all 7 dimensions equally, but an ecosystem of apps can. Each app serves its primary dimension deeply and touches several others lightly. Together, the ecosystem covers all 7. A user in the ecosystem is not just learning about money or parenting or building. They are being served across all the dimensions of their life. That holistic service is what makes the ecosystem valuable, not the individual apps, the coverage. I want to share one more insight about the 7 dimensions. They are not fixed, they evolve. As you grow, the dimensions shift. What was important in your 20s becomes less important in your 30s. What was neglected in your 30s becomes urgent in your 40s. The framework adapts. The dimensions remain the same, but the emphasis changes, and your building should change with them. The apps you build in your 20s might serve the financial and professional dimensions most. The apps you build in your 40s might serve the family and spiritual dimensions more. The framework is not a cage. It is a compass. It tells you where you are and helps you decide where to go next. Let me share a story that shows how the 7 dimensions work together in real life. A woman named Grace joined my Smart Investor Leader platform. She was 32 years old, a mother of 2, working 2 jobs, barely making ends meet. She was stressed, tired, overwhelmed. Her finances were a mess. Her relationships were strained. Her health was suffering. She felt like she was failing in every area of life. She started with the financial dimension because that was her most urgent pain. She needed to understand her money. She took the 5-day challenge. She learned to budget. She learned to track. She learned to plan. Within a month, her finances were organized. Not perfect, but organized. She knew what she had. She knew what she owed. She knew what she needed. That financial clarity reduced her stress, and reduced stress improved her mental dimension. She could think more clearly, sleep better, focus better. With better focus, she started exercising. 10 minutes a day, walking, then jogging, then running. Her physical dimension improved. She had more energy, more patience. Her improved physical health improved her family dimension. She was less irritable with her children, more present with her partner. She could play with her kids without collapsing from exhaustion. Her family life improved. Her improved family life improved her social dimension. She started attending community events again. She reconnected with friends she had lost touch with. She joined a local women group. She was no longer isolated. She had people around her, people who supported her, people who encouraged her. And through all of this, she found her spiritual dimension. She told me that the Ask framework gave her a way to think about her life that made sense. Seek, ask, knock. She started seeking, not just money, purpose. She started asking, not just for help, for guidance. She started knocking, not just on doors, on the door of the life she wanted. And doors started opening, not all at once, one by one, but they opened. Grace did not fix all 7 dimensions at once. She fixed one, the financial, and the connections handled the rest. That is the power of the framework. You do not need to solve everything. You need to solve one thing, the one thing that is most broken, and the ripples will reach every other dimension because they are connected. They are always connected. That is why I build apps, not to solve one problem, to start a ripple. One app, one dimension, one ripple that reaches every other dimension. That is the vision. That is the 7 dimensions of life. And that is why building with purpose matters more than building with features. If you want to learn how to build apps that serve all 7 dimensions of life, join me at 7D AI Academy. We do not just teach building, we teach purposeful building. Search for 7D AI Academy online and start building with all 7 dimensions in mind. I am Smarty, and this has been episode 19 of Vibe Coding with Purpose. In the next episode, we are going to talk about building for your own needs. Why the best apps are the ones you build for yourself. See you there.